Hello there. What is going on, everybody? We are playing some Legion today, and we are using advanced positions and moisture evaporators and hostile environment as our objectives. And I'm playing Sean, and this is the new terrain from Tier Terrain that I did a review on recently. This is the crashed Imperial Raider we are battling on today. And we're setting up deployment right now and just kind of marking deployment, and we're going to go through deployment right now. I'm running clones. Both lists will have a link in the description below so you can check them out. But I won the role and got blue player. And this is a different type of battle report. I'm doing the narrative style. I don't always do them like this, but I tried something a little bit different. I know the camera angle might be a little bit disorienting for some of you, but I was trying to get that as much of the battlefield as possible into one shot. So let me know in the description what you think of this type of shot. So basically, this terrain is really, it's crowded. It's a crowded board, that's for sure. But Sean is running kind of a mock-up of his normal Jin list, but he has added a couple of things. He added some of those new range 4 rebels from the Rebel Commando, the Trooper Upgrade Pack. And I am running primarily clones, and I figured the clones would get some good loving with the new upgrades from the Clone Pack. Sean is also running R2-D2 and C-3PO for the operative versions that just came out. So we wanted to use a lot of the new stuff in this one. And as blue player, I'm kind of deploying near those two moisture evaporators, and also to kind of spread out cohesion a little bit to kind of deny Sean's Pathfinders their infiltrate. And that's really one of the big things that I try to do during deployment here. And then here is my Bark Speeder. Now, I'm running a Bark Speeder with no upgrades at all. You don't normally see that. But one of the things about not having any of the gunners on there is that you don't have the reduction in speed. So my speed is now going to be 3, which is good for some particular missions. It wasn't super helpful in this one. I think both of us came out to 800 points though. But one of the cool things on this particular map with advanced positions that I am trying to take advantage of here is that Rex's scouting party, and I have recon intel on Rex. So Rex with Scout 1 normally, recon intel, and then also Scout 1 from the deployment gives Rex Scout 3, which means after he deploys, his scouting party is going to be able to reach people and give them an additional move of speed 3. Which is incredible. And since I'm running Rex and Obi-Wan, I figure if I deploy Obi-Wan first, do a Scout 1 with Obi-Wan, and then eventually move Rex afterwards, then Scout 3 with Rex, as long as I can still reach Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan gets a speed 3 move after already doing a speed 1 move. So I can really take this heavy hitter and get him very far into the battlefield, although there's a risk to that. So as you can see right now, Sean is setting up. Sean is on the top side of your screen, by the way. Kind of very much center left, and I had originally wanted to set up all the way on the right hand side, but now I feel like I've got to try to get Rex's the whole idea of my deployment here was to be able to have some of the new personnel upgrades with Rex, to be able to play Rex's 2-pip, and they can now have an aim and then they can move and then shoot at range 4 with the Z6, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. So almost a range 5 Z6 shot from 2 different clone troopers was the kind of the hope here. Now to do that, I kind of need them all kind of close together, but it's not really as easy to do right now since I've kind of split my force all the way across the map. Since I have 2 of my naked clone troopers off the right-hand side, and then basically the other 2 clones are running Z6. One has the new commander, and then the other one has the new personnel that can give a free aim, and then the one that has the commander has offensive push, so they can both get free aims. That's the whole idea behind this list. Free aims for the clones. Of course, they don't need that normally, but with Rex's 2-pip, they need to have the aim token physically on them to be able to do it. I do have 1 clone trooper with just the extra clone trooper and then that new range 2 pierce weapon, and that one's going to go down at the bottom at some point here, and there they go right now. That's the new piercing shotgun troopers that are going to go down there. Sean's kind of sneaking his Mark II out there based off of his veterans at the top at this point, and trying to just hide. One thing I'll say about deployment here is I don't usually cover deployment in any kind of detail in my games, and there goes some Pathfinders. I think that is the POW Pathfinder unit. They're going to have looks like range 4 on some of my guys that did go forward. I did take a Z6 unit, and they're kind of right in the center of the board there. They got a really speedy move with Rex after, because they were just barely in range. They got that speed 3 move with Rex. And then Obi-Wan is over on the bottom left-hand side of your screen there, and he's checking range from Obi-Wan because with all of that Scout 1 and Rex's scouting party, I really denied Sean a whole lot of position for his infiltrate. So we are starting off. I play Obi-Wan's 2 Pip, and I hit Obi-Wan and Rex at this point. At one point, I mistakenly put an extra surge on there, but I think we realized after the fact that Obi-Wan was not the commander that had aggressive tactics. It was only Rex that did. So one of those little things that I screw up. One of the things we're also doing is I lay down the pips on the command tokens I have them laid out on the right hand side, and I just have Sean pick which one if I'm pulling from the pile, and yeah, and there we go. So I know he's going to go after my clones on the top right hand side, so I activate them, and I think they're going to take a shot at POW and then move away, since I'm kind of abandoning the upper right moisture evaporator at this point, since I have no support. So they take a shot, get some suppression out there, and then move and hide behind some of the crashed ship debris. And then we pulled from the pile. Sean will try to rally. Hopefully you guys can see the dice a little bit. We're knocking terrain here. And then he's going to kind of, I think he takes a shot. Those Pathfinders do have a pretty sick amount of dice. And, of course, the white dice don't always turn up the way we want them to. But I think he took a shot down there at my clones that had the Z6 in the middle of the screen. And so he moves them such that, and one of the things we're doing is also declaring our intent. Like, all right, I'm moving here such that you guys can't see me, and so this way I can kind of look down and be like, no, they can still see you. So as long as he's got flexibility, we try to be good sports and try to do the same thing. All right, Sean's moving his Rebel veterans out there, also trying to take a shot on my clones over there, which are now suppressed, but he gets a lot of crits, and so and I lose a couple. Now I'm down to just my commander and my Z6 on this clone trooper in the middle of the board. They kind of went far forward and got quickly flanked. So that's kind of a bummer. It's like a bad start for me when I'm already down only 8 activations to Sean's 11. I got powerful activations, but when I start to lose them real heavily like that, it becomes rough. So I do take a shot with the Z6 before moving, and I triggered the clone captain's ability, so this way I wouldn't be suppressed, so I could still shoot and move, which is always a good thing. And then we're checking range here to that Mark II, and so he is, I think, just outside of range of those clones at the bottom. But we're going to, who are we going with now? Now I'm trying to remember, because I recorded this, and now I'm doing the narration afterwards. So one of the things we decided is most of the buildings would all be heavy cover, and I'm moving up, like some of the panels actually are like a rampway to walk up into some of the other like destroyed wreckage containers. So I think I'm moving up to one of those. Those are going to be treated as light cover, some of the debris that's on the field that's like kind of leaning upward. And moving up and taking a shot back on, I believe, his Rebel veterans. We're checking line of sight there. And the laser actually really helps too. It really helps kind of determine if something has got heavy cover, if you can even see something, especially when looking at it just from overhead. And I think we do fire support at this point. Yes, I triggered fire support off of. No, I did. There's no fire support here. They did not have a face-up token, so it's just a big. It's just a shot. Now we got those Rebel veterans at the top, down only 2 left, which is definitely good, but I think they still have the heavy weapons guy, so they're still pretty much a threat. Their heavy weapon for the Rebel veterans is pretty significant, but so far nothing's really happened on the left side of the board. I have Obi-Wan kind of out in the open, but I've got 2 dodges on him, and I'm really hoping that he is going to be able to to get shot, get like at least one damage on him, deflect some, and then move into battle, because I have tenacity on Obi-Wan, so I'm hoping that he gets shot. And Sean is kind of waiting. He's trying to focus on where I'm thinner. I have most of the power of my force over on the left-hand side of the board, and a lot of the guys on the right are scattered and now wounded. So now it's time for the bark speeder, and we're gonna do that compulsory, which is gonna be speed 3 now because there's no gunner on there, and being able to ignore that terrain with speeder is super helpful. Trying to measure out some shots. Now, one of the cool thing about a bark speeder with no gunner is the fact that I can still go ahead and do Arsenal too, because you do have the sidearm on the driver. So you have, or I guess you still have the passenger, and he's just only got a pistol instead of a big heavy rig. So you still have 2 attacks. You could split fire, and I think that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to split fire, just try to deal out some suppression, because there's cover. The one is just a single black die, but as long as I roll a hit, it's well, as long as I roll ink, because we got surge to hit. So we do get some suppression there, and then we split fire to the other rebel veterans with 1 of each, and get some suppression there as well too. And that was a whole mess. So the speeder's not really doing a whole lot, but it's giving out suppression is not bad. And if you can give out 2 suppression when 1 attack, that's that's not half bad, especially if you're denying an attack. And then R2 and 3PO, who started on the far left side, are moving forward at this point. And I'm really not sure. Like I had questions, Sean, during this game. I'm like, you started them really far back. You could have probably put them, because it's advanced positions, you could have put them all the way up to the middle of the board, and it might have been a little closer. But I think it was a learning curve. He was afraid of having them out in the open, and that's true. But maybe inconspicuous would have saved them from that. But I guess we'll just have to see. One good thing about the droid troopers is they can interact, because we've got some moisture evaporators that do need to get triggered and activated. And a big attack. I think this is coming for Obi-Wan at this point. And so Obi-Wan's going to dodge, and then we get 2 surge on this attack. So Obi-Wan we're going to reflect 2 damage back at those rebel veterans that shot me. And now it's time for Obi-Wan to move. So Obi-Wan's going to move into range of the moisture evaporator, and he's going to activate it, raise up the sabotage level on it, and kind of just hide at this point. Since I got 2 damage on Obi-Wan, but I reflected 2 back, and it's like, okay, I can have a little bit on Obi-Wan, but I don't want that much. Definitely don't want that much. So now some other guys are going. Oh, Bastan's taking a shot at the speeder, who is going to have actually heavy cover now, because some of the scaffolding from the ship is in the way, which is light cover, we determined. But since he's got light cover already for speeder 1, he's going to have heavy cover. So I'm digging that. And unfortunately, I rolled 2 reds, so he doesn't get any damage through. And especially since he exhausted Bastan to get that ion shot, not getting ion on the speeder is actually really a relief, because nothing stinks worse than having a real heavy vehicle and getting ion on it. And at this point, I'm activating Rex last, and I'm just moving him away off to like the middle, the bottom center, to rejoin the clones. I realized having 2 commanders, but having them together on the left side of the board while I got so many forces on the right side of the board is a bad idea. I thought the opening turn was going to go differently. Did not, so I'm like, well, let me just take Rex and rejoin some of these other guys. Did forget to give Rex an aim token, though, because he's got tactical 1. He should get 1 free aim when he does a move. But, yeah. So we are, I think the clones are out of activations at this point. And Sean's just kind of moving people forward, because he's kind of sees that I have that, at least that bottom left moisture evaporator. And the moisture evaporators are in both corners. So we're playing turn 2, and I go with... we're not programmed for Rex, and he's just going to give out a whole bunch of, 4 clones in order token, and Sean plays covering fire, so that's the one where they pass out dodges. And that is it. So we're going to have a lot of face-up order tokens, and now trying to figure out that first activation at this point is always tricky, because I won the roll, because we each went with a 3-pip. And I was fortunate today, because I think I won all the rolls where we had a tie, which that almost never happens against Sean. But And now I'm measuring range and deciding, you know what, I think I'm going to try and see if I can get my shotgun guy to get up to range 2 of the Mark II and then have fire support trigger. And I'm going to try and split fire because I see 2 units that could, you know, that might be able to die. But I don't quite get range to the Mark II at range 2. It's just out. So instead, I'm going to just throw everything on the Rebel veterans, who are a bigger threat to take out. And I believe I trigger fire support at this point too, because I really, 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 really want to kill them. Just to take, I mean, I'm already way behind in activations, and I've got to try and get caught up. So that's a ton of dice, probably more than I needed. And so we're looking at 6, 7, 8 damage on them, -1 because they have suppression, so light cover. And of course they're dead. I think I went overkill. I probably didn't need to trigger fire support there, but you never know. Sometimes things will go unfortunately, and you roll like 12 dice and get all blanks. So I wanted to make sure I was rolling as many as possible. So now we're in, I think, the next step of. So I've got one unit down. Even though I've kind of lost 1 unit, I at least have, you know, two troopers still standing as a result. And we're spreading out, and I'm pulling from the pile, and we got... oh, and I realized I made a mistake, and I had assigned Rex a core instead of a clone, so just reshuffled everything, and then went. And so we're going with core, and my guys over on the bottom right, who, you know, finished activating the other moisture evaporator, are now moving back in closer to the center of the unit, so or the center of the board. I'm trying to get all of my clones together so they can do their clone sharing ability, because that's, I think, one big mistake I made in this match is splitting up my clones so much. And that's one of those things about like moisture evaporators, is when you're, you know, because I thought I had the right side of the board on lockdown, and I was going to make a big push for like the bottom left, so I would have 3 out of the 4, and I ended up spreading myself too thin. And so now I'm at the point where I have to try to move everybody back together to try to take advantage of their cohesion, or try to get them, well, not cohesion as it applies to the game, but like unit cohesion, like esprit de corps, you know, or the clone, you know, keyword ability to share green tokens, and they all had been way too far to do that, and also too far to be able to get orders issued. So Sean's just moving, says now he is also doing kind of the same thing with taking all his guys that were in the top left and pushing them real hard to the right, pushing them to top right, because I think he figures out, like with Obi-Wan, and he thought like I had too much of a strong force at the bottom left, that we didn't necessarily want to, you know, to go ahead and, you know, face Obi-Wan one-on-one, because Obi-Wan's made specifically to deal with big threats like that. So we are moving up. I think I do a move up and a standby at this point with Rex. So yeah, I do. Oh no, I did a move and an aim, and I have another clone off to the side, to the right, with a standby. So this way I can move up and have my aims and all of this stuff ready. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to take advantage, because having a clone that's completely out of line of sight with a standby, and then another clone that's out in the open that can use it, you know, you won't lose it if you get that suppression on you, because you're not using your own standby, you're using somebody else's standby. So that's kind of the setup that I've kind of built in the middle of the board. And then there's some shooting that's going on right now from Sean's Rebels through some of the open doors in the panel. But some of the wreckage does have holes and explosion and blast holes in it, so there are some areas where you can see through. It's providing heavy cover to a lot of those shots, but there is still ways to see through. So I think I've got 4 damage on the speeder right now, and he does lose in action, but he still gets his his compulsory move and then attack. So he is going to just move up and throw some dice, and I think I get 3 damage, and Sean's going to block with his cover, so I don't think I actually get anything through at that point. But I'm just putting the speeder right in the middle of everything, or the bark speeder, which is fun. Now, one of the interesting things I'm thinking about with this particular build is, you know, a lot of times you put force push. I have force push on Obi-Wan, and I haven't always used force push. And I think one of the reasons for that is when we are playing, we don't usually sacrifice a trooper to move him into melee to shut down a real big heavy unit. And we should, but we end up just not doing that much. So I didn't really have the need for force push. But I started to realize, we both started to realize that we should be doing that. So I, started running force push a little bit more. And in this case, instead of just using it to free up Obi-Wan, it can be used to push somebody off of a moisture evaporator as well, which is pretty useful, especially if somebody's got suppression and they're just going to have their one action. So that's one of the things that I'm going to try and do here is keep people away from the objective with Obi-Wan if I don't need to use it for any other reason. So Sean's moving his POW Pathfinder unit over there, and they're taking a shot at some of my clones that were trying to make it over to Rex, but there was still kind of a lane of fire over on the right-hand side. But at the same time, he's getting POW's unit almost in position, almost ready to touch that moisture evaporator in the top right, and they're going to be able to start lowering it down from 2 down to 1 and then 0. Now, if you're curious what the blue and the gray and blue rings are that I'm using for where the moisture evaporators are, those are actually Armada tokens for movement speed. Armada has a movement speed anywhere that ranges from 0 to 4, and then it's perfect to keep track of your moisture evaporator since you can set it at 2 and then just dial it down to 1 and then 0 or all the way up to 4. So so I always use those to keep track of the moisture evaporator tokens. Plus, with Armada, I've got 1 million Armada ships, so it's I have plenty of spare speed dials. And then, of course, now we're measuring range, trying to figure out what the best shot is here. And I'm trying to remember whose activation it is right now. It looks like it's Obi-Wan. Oh, yeah, Obi-Wan is moving up, and that's right. He moved up and got with the Bistan unit and charged into them. And I think got them down to only 2 guys left. So it was a pretty good swing by Obi-Wan, but not really good enough. Because... my dice just weren't that hot with Obi-Wan that particular swing. And you think with Critical 2, you're probably going to have it. But Critical 2 doesn't help you when you roll 3 blanks on a 6 dice attack. And that's kind of unfortunate. All right. So, this point in the game, if Obi-Wan can free them up and then get back down, because I only triggered that bottom left... the bottom left token one time, the bottom left moisture evaporator. So while I have the bottom right one all the way up to 4, the bottom left one, I only put that one up to 3 because I needed to move and get into some guys before they escaped. And that is basically what it's going to boil down to, is that, like, if I can get back there, then that would be great. If not, then I can move over to the right and try to trigger the other one. And we are closing in on the end of round 2. Bistan's guys are punching Obi-Wan, and they don't get any damage through, so Obi-Wan blocks that one. And we're beginning of round 3. I'm playing Take That Clankers, Rex's 2-pip. This whole list was really designed to make that one work really well, while Sean plays R2's 1-pip, and that's going to give him increase his speed to speed 2, so he is going to kind of make a run, R2, because R2's right next to that melee where Obi-Wan and Bistan are, and R2 is going to make a run downward towards the to the objective to get away from there, because Obi-Wan doesn't kind of cut R2 in half as he's trying to move around. But first thing he does is he's going to go over and touch the larger moisture evaporator on the top right. He wasn't quite there before, and he's going to take a shot. He's got some more of my clones out of cover, which is unfortunate. Well, they'll have light cover because they have suppression. And, of course, they weren't able to remove that suppression because this is hostile environment. And that's one of those things you can kind of get stuck in a place where if you don't just, recover or at least move to touch stuff, if you want to shoot, you're going to just, it'll just start piling up, and eventually you'll panic. So, so I'm playing the 2-pip, Take That Clankers, and I really wanted to get, extend the range, but at this point I don't have shots, and I'm going for this Rebel Trooper unit that's down here, And I really want to just take out, because they're like a full strength unit, pretty much, and I really want to take them out. So I'm instead of going up or trying to go for the POW unit, I think I'm going to do a fire support, and I'm gathering up a big shot of having my Z6 and the shotgun Pierce guys all roll into this Rebel Trooper unit. And I didn't have the aim because there was suppression there, but I only got 6 damage, and he just happened to only, he would have survived if I didn't have the Pierce in there. No, it was 5 damage. I'm sorry, 5 damage for 5 units. He only rolled 1 block, but the Pierce 1 made it. So it was a good thing I did the fire support. Although then I'm down even fewer actions, but at least taking out a full strength unit that was actually in a very dangerous spot really worked. So R2 just went down to the bottom left-hand corner and started lowering that moisture evaporator, R2 and 3PO, which is kind of unfortunate because that kind of undid my whole progress with Obi-Wan. But Obi-Wan can get back down there and try to do a little bit more good. So now we're checking out some ranges, and he's thinking about moving some people up. So he's going to take his. He's got another Rebel Trooper unit over here. There they have the other sniper, or the other range 4 trooper in there from the new upgrade pack, and he can't quite get them to the moisture evaporator. But since they have a range 4 shot, he's also got a long lane along the bottom right hand side interior of the crashed ship. So he's bringing them down there. So now Obi-Wan is faced with 2 different units at the bottom. If he wants to go back there, that will be able to both threaten the moisture evaporator and threaten all of my clones that are kind of exposed along that bottom route. So that's a lot of my plans are starting to fall through because Obi-Wan is strong, but he's only got 1 lightsaber. So now his Mark II moves. He does his Mark II, and he knows I'm stalling with Obi-Wan, so he places the Mark II directly in front of Obi-Wan, does a reposition, and then does a standby. So this way, if Obi-Wan does kill Bistan's unit, his plan is to fire directly into Obi-Wan right there. So now I'm taking some clones over here, hiding them behind here, and taking a shot to the right at Pow's unit on the top right, moisture evaporator. And I'm going to borrow a surge from another unit, and that's always nice to be able to do that. And we do actually, I think we do get 1 down. And I think the next thing is Obi-Wan is going to go first. First thing he does is take a dodge, a free dodge, and of course that does not trigger. He's not going to opt to trigger the Mark II fire support into Obi-Wan. So then Obi-Wan will swing, and he does kill these guys. Then the Mark II is going to trigger his, have the option to shoot, but instead he is going to trigger, well, you'll see. Because basically, instead of shooting Obi-Wan, he decides he's going to move. And then, so yeah, we kill them, and then now he's going to trigger standby. And instead of shooting, he moves to engage Obi-Wan. At first I'm like, wait a second, a Mark II, an emplacement trooper moving to engage me, but they have a melee value, so I'm like, all right. Well, in that case, then I'm thinking to myself, well, I still have one other action I can do with Obi-Wan, because all I did was attack, and then I did a free action. But this is where force push comes in. So in this case, I'm just going to force push him away, and then move with my second action. And that's the beauty of force push. It kind of prevents you from being engaged by only 1 unit, which is really nice. Now, I can't do anything else because I wanted to force push guys off that objective at the bottom, but he kind of at least, made my decision for me. So then Jin moves down to the middle, just around the corner from where Rex is, with a face up and all of this other stuff, and she does a standby. So if I come around there, she's going to move in and or shoot, and I don't want that. I definitely don't want that. And maybe I should have just said screw it, because Jin, I think for some reason I was thinking Jin had charge, and she doesn't have charge, at least not right now. I think she gets that when she plays her 1 pip, but she does not have charge normally. So I'm checking to see how far forward I can go, because I wanting to use Rex's gunslinger at this point, and trying to see, I have range 3 with his gunslinger because he's got tactical, so he's going to get free aim when he moves. And then we're lining up trying to see what we could see, who and because I can barely see the Mark II's gun from where I am, but if I move to get closer to the POW unit, then I'm not going to be able to see the Mark II's gun. So instead, I go to the left and I take a shot through there because I can see two guys from the Rebel Veteran unit. I can only see the leader and the heavy weapon. And we verify that with the lasers, and I get 1 damage through. And they're only the leader and the heavy weapon, the only ones that I can see through there. So I only get 1 damage through, and it has to go to the heavy weapon because he can't put it on the leader. So a great shot from Rex, and I think the other shot went to one of the sniper team members, which I got. But yeah, so taking out the heavy weapon from that Mark II or from that Rebel Veteran unit is a huge option. And then Sean's moving his other Mark II at the top of the screen, just around a little bit, just to get it in a position where it can see. And it's starting to close into where I think we, most of, like, Sean's got the top left moisture evaporator down all the way to 0, so he can kind of abandon that one now. And as you're seeing, he's moving more of his units away from that. Now he's checking to see where his one sniper that's only got 1 unit left might be able to have the most number of shots. So there's a whole lot of range measuring through here. This terrain is very crowded, and I think this would be a really good terrain board for a Grand Army also, because we could space it out a little more. Now, granted, I had the option of just not using all of it. I could have taken some of it off, but I wanted to put all of it down there because this set is actually giving you a lot of scatter terrain also. And now we're on turn 4, and Sean goes with complete the mission, and I'd go with hello there for Obi-Wan. So Sean's stuff can't be suppressed this round, which is important because he's getting a lot of suppression stacking up. But Obi-Wan needed to get a couple of free dodges since I used both of his force cards and I only got force push back this turn. I wanted to start off with some stuff, so he'll get a dodge and an aim for free, and then Obi-Wan will end up moving in, trying to cut down R2, which ends up being problematic for me. So you'll see. So we're going to move in, and I can be touching the thing, and I can also be engaged with R2. So that's basically where Obi-Wan's going. He's going to jump right over there. And so we gather that attack pool, and we're going to roll 7 dice against R2. Lots of blanks. Aim only end up with 4 damage with an aim, and so very disappointed with Obi-Wan's dice right now. All the blacks were, even with rerolls, came out blank. Not even a surge. Now, with only 4 damage there, R2 actually has a lot of health if you put C-3PO with him. And the fact that he can repair, he can pick up 3PO, and that's what we ended up doing, because I was certain that repair could only be another unit, but it apparently can be yourself as well. So, or unless we played that wrong. But according to the rules, it just says chooses a unit, and you are a unit. It doesn't say another unit when you're using repair. Interesting thing about the rules reference, though, repair on R2 is an action as opposed to the free action symbol. In the rules reference, though, it does kind of say that repair is a free action. I'm like, yeah, but it's only because it was a free action on the other guy, not necessarily on R2D2, because it looks like on R2D2 it's a full action. So, but yeah, so R2 is then going to be able to pick up C-3PO, who took 2 of those damage, and basically go from 6 wounds down to only 2 left, then back up to 4 total left, which is a real, like, a self-healing unit's really annoying. I'm just gonna say that it's really annoying. At least he's at his capacity, and he's got repair 2, so he's not just repairing 1 per turn; he's repairing 2. Which maybe that'll be real interesting when the tank comes out and have R2D2 behind it to kind of heal the tank a little bit. So now I move and I do kill the Mark II with my piercing guy right there, which is nice. We're trying to do that. Sniper is going to move down to the bottom, and he's going to take a shot, and unfortunately, that's the sniper is probably not going to live very long, because where he is right now, he's not going to last too long. But so I take some of my clone troopers and realizing that, you know what, I need to stop just throwing shots and need to start doing some objective work. And I move into a melee with Pow's unit at the top, also touching the objective. So I figure, you know what, those Pathfinders are really good at range, but they're, you know, in a melee, they're just as good as me, or a lot closer. They still have surge to hit, but yeah, so I might as well, you know, limit their effectiveness by being into a melee with them. And then I can punch and then also raise the sabotage markers. So then the other rebel trooper unit is moving closer to Obi-Wan, and trying to, you know, basically get 2 units on the same moisture evaporator to be able to do that. And then there's another shot taken on those rebel troopers. They get a suppression on them. And then Jin does a double move up towards the objective also, since he sees me trying to, you know, raise it even further and stop the efforts of Pow. He said, let me double down and put Jin over here on the top right. So now I'm thinking about Rex, and where should I move Rex, who is kind of in the very center of the screen. And I end up doing some shooting with Rex with his gunslinger. And I really probably shouldn't have. I probably should have just double moved, because I need to get to that top left thing. But we're checking arc, and we'll do some shooting. And we don't kill anything. Or we kill one. Oh, we do kill the sniper, though. Then that's the important thing. So Rex, and because Rex has sharpshooter, which is also really nice. Definitely helps, you know, take somebody down a little bit when they would have heavy cover otherwise. So Sean's going to move the rebel troopers back a little bit. He had kind of abandoned the top left objective, but he sees me going for it, moves them back, and kind of gets back that way. I've got 2 troopers left over here, and they're going to come up and standby, trying to trigger some more standby shots. And standby is kind of what killed the Mark II that was in the top earlier too. So standby is really helpful, especially on a unit that's behind heavy cover or completely behind blocking terrain. Just a big helpful token to be able to share. And then I have one unit, this was a Z6 unit, but they've lost the Z6, and they're just going to move into melee with Jin to kind of slow her down. If I've got one clone left in that unit, then I think the smartest thing is just to slow down the opponent's commander. And this is going to be the end of the round. We're going to then be starting round 5. Not much time left. We go with each Rex and Jin's 1 pips, and I hate Jin's 1 pip more than anything, because it's super strong. And Rex, of course, now has the fire support ability, and I'm thinking, hey, I can move some troopers around and have Rex fire into those rebel veterans and have Rex do all of this stuff, which is just great. But Obi-Wan is actually going to end up going first. I pull from the pile and go with Obi-Wan. He pushes R2 off the objective and then moves in to finish off the other rebel troopers that were down there. But before he does that, he also raises the moisture evaporator up. So a good turn from Obi-Wan, but I really did not want to have to go with Obi-Wan. I wanted to pull a core from the pile to trigger fire support. And Sean knows what I'm doing, so then he takes that same unit, moves into a melee with Rex. So now Rex can't use fire support, which is a rough one. So I go with some rebel troopers, and I'm trying to punch Pow's guys and also raise the top right objective. Does not work, so that's kind of a bummer. But then Sean goes with Jin and manages to kill. She punches or uses her baton and kills the 1 clone that is engaged with her. The reason he does that too is because there's another clone unit right in front of Jin, and once I do activate them, he's going to be able to interrupt their activation and either move or shoot them right away. So like there's no hope. If you have somebody that's low and weak and Jin is nearby and she plays her 1 pip, she's going to interrupt you when you activate. And that's really the hard thing here. So, and I'm going with them, and of course that's what happens. And then Sean shoots them, and then they both die. And that was kind of one of my last hopes to try and get up there and kind of change the balance, because they could have made it to that objective, or they could have moved and also raised the level of it. But and so that counted as my activation. So it goes back to Sean at this point, and now we're looking at R2 and thinking, well, R2, I pushed him off, but he's just going to move back on and then lower the sabotage again. So with that, now we're looking at really what our options are at this point, because it's starting to look bad for me. Because I think R2 is going to be able to at least put me into a stalemate. Now, my better option is to be able to move R2, push him directly away from the objective, and then move Obi-Wan to that exact spot so R2 can't possibly make it back and also touch, because Obi-Wan's base would be in the way. So I have that option, and I figure that's going to work on the bottom left. But then I move my piercing shotgun clone troopers up to the middle to maybe threaten Jin, or to maybe threaten this guy over here. But they have 2 suppression on them because they haven't been touching terrain, so I can only move once. They're not going to be, and it's turn 5, so they're not going to be able to get to an objective and trigger it at this point. They're just too far away. But I do have another clone unit next to Rex at the bottom. They have a Z6 in there, and so they're going now, and I'm thinking if I can get them, although we have a standby on this Mark II up in the top left, so I'm going to try and push them in a way that I think they can get to that objective, and I'm going to move them there. Now here I do something kind of silly. I'm thinking, he doesn't have line of sight on them. He can't see them. Well, I leave the Z6 guy in a way that his gun is hanging out, so it does trigger standby. And so he's going to be able to trigger standby, and he shoots, and he does kill the Z6, since that's the only one he could see. But I'm okay with that, because I didn't need the Z6 anyway, because the next turn is the last turn, and all I'm going to do is try and move and get there. And that's basically it. It all boils down to if I can get to the moisture evaporator in the top left and raise it, because I need 2 actions. I need to move, get there, touch it, and then raise the sabotage. Otherwise, it's not, we've got nothing left. That's it for me. So Obi-Wan places 3 pip. He's going to, try to raise the sabotage a little bit on the bottom. But it all really boils down to this one trooper trying to touch the top left marker, and I'm not actually able to get there. You're going to see me in a little bit try to move it and get there, and I'm just unable to do it. And that's really what it boils down to. Yeah, so here it's just like maybe a centimeter off, and it's just not there. And so we're talking about, I'm like, it might have gotten bumped earlier, but we're not sure. So it's like, yeah, he didn't make it. And this is where we determine, just don't have the numbers, so it's mathematically impossible. So we call it at this point. And honestly, it was a great game. It was really fun looking at how a much more crowded board can impact some of the strategies that we had. Like I had planned to have more lanes and more line of sight and try to get that range 4, range 5 shots with Rex's 2 pip. I had plans to try and keep my guys together. This was a lot of blocking terrain, which I think is very advantageous for a lot of Rebel units. But it was a really good time. All right, so thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching this battle report, and let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you like this style of battle report? Which do you prefer? All right, guys, I want to thank you. I want to thank my patrons so much, and as always, have a great day.